So you're looking to buy some pre-owned clothes online. But I've never done it, have zero experience, and don't really know where to start. Or maybe you've dabbled a bit but have found little success. Well, look no further, because this is the ultimate beginner's intro into this world. So for the past 5 years, I've made my living selling pre-owned clothes online, while sourcing most of my inventory as well online, at places available to all of us, eBay, Depop, Poshmark. And through my experience as both buyer and seller, I've learned a lot about this growing virtual marketplace. And with a desire to help the everyday consumer better navigate this space, I've decided to start a channel that's at least partially dedicated to doing just that. Hi, I'm Lucas. Welcome to Coyote Sharp. So the virtual pre-owned clothing marketplace is a bit of the Wild West. Yes, there is some order, but in all honesty, it's kind of ungoverned. There are honest, professional sellers doing a great job. Sellers who have no problem deceiving you, though in all honesty, these people are rare, and a whole host in between. What something is worth isn't always easily deciphered and often very subjective. Forthcoming, transparent information about an item's condition isn't always present. Knowledgeable sellers are kind of the exception. And with often no return policy, correctly estimating size is an imperative. Sounds treacherous, huh? But the rewards are plenty. Beautiful, high-quality clothes at a fraction of the price. If you arm yourself with a bit of information and are willing to exercise some patience. So I think the best way to introduce someone into this world is to break down what I consider the 6 biggest factors or considerations that go into a pre-owned online clothing purchase. By understanding and considering these factors and how they relate to what you're pursuing, you will be much better set up for success. Quick little disclaimer before we jump into these. I am going to stay very broad and general here. More specific videos will come later. Again, this is just an introduction or a mental primer, if you may. So the 6 factors are item category, item brand, item model name and or style, age of item, commerce platform, and seller/listing analysis. Now let's more closely examine each and explain why they matter. Alright, on to the first factor, item category. And by this I mean, are you looking to buy a pair of jeans, a t-shirt, a winter parka, a sweater, a shirt? Now this matters because the considerations that go into estimating size/fit, condition, and value will differ for each. Let me pose a couple examples to get you thinking. Say you're looking to buy a navy blue wool sweater, staple wardrobe item. Now you don't need to be too concerned about stains outside of something oil-based because one, the darker color, and also wool knit material or any knit material does a great job of hiding and obscuring them. But you do need to be concerned about size/fit because an ill-fitting sweater just looks Also, wool shrinks big time. A lot of sweaters are accidentally shrunk to then be donated, to then be thrifted by a reseller who may or may not disclose or be aware of this change in size when putting them on the pre-owned marketplace. And also, shrunk wool material just doesn't feel great, so this is something you have to consider when buying a sweater. Now let's say you want to buy a winter parka. Now you don't need to be too concerned about size because it doesn't need nor is it designed to fit like a glove, and it isn't traditionally laundered. You don't just throw your parka in the dryer. So determining exact size/fit isn't as important as figuring out level of use. So parkas are often worn hard and frequently doing rigorous activities for season after season. So though the one you're considering might be free of holes and stains and look pretty decent in the photos, it could be just this side of falling apart. Or the lining might be about to disintegrate. I find this to be pretty common, and the seller just might not disclose this. So wrapping things up, as you can see, really taking the time to consider the unique characteristics of what you're looking to buy will really set you up for a successful transaction. Alright, on to the second factor, item brand. So the approach you take to finding and buying a particular item will depend a lot on its brand. Again, let's pose 2 hypothetical situations to get you thinking. Say you'd like to buy a pre-owned Ralph Lauren shirt. Now, Ralph Lauren is a wildly prolific brand with a bunch of different sub-brands and has been around for decades, resulting in a lot of variation in quality, value, and size. So if you just search Ralph Lauren shirts, you're going to get thousands of results with prices and sizes all over the map that will have to be sorted through. Now let's say you want to buy a shirt from the brand Taylor Stitch. Now Taylor Stitch is a relatively new, small, high-quality, pricey, in-demand brand. Now I've found that these smaller brands tend to have pretty consistent sizing, and Taylor Stitch hasn't been around for decades, So if you own a shirt from them in size medium, chances are if you find another one online in size medium, it will fit similar unless it's been aggressively shrunk. And also pricing will be a bit more straightforward because there isn't this wide variety in quality and design that spans decades. So to wrap things up, understanding the scale, scope, and age of the brand you're considering will in turn help you better understand sizing, pricing, condition, value, and more on the pre-owned marketplace. On to the third factor, item model name and/or specific style. And by this I mean, do you know the specific model name and/or specific style of what you're pursuing? For example, are you looking to buy a shirt from Brooks Brothers, a brand that makes tons of different types of shirts? Or are you looking to buy the Milano shirt from Brooks Brothers? Or are you looking to buy a coat? There are a lot of different types of coats. Or are you looking to buy a duffel coat? Basically, this is all about specificity. Now this matters because for one, searching and finding is a lot easier. And also you can now cross-reference with the brand's website, style forums, online articles, and other listings to find a wealth of information that might not be presented in the listing that you're considering. So if you're able to narrow down the model name and/or specific style of what you're after, or you're able to identify it from a listing you're considering but it isn't mentioned, you will now have access to a whole wealth of information, which will in turn help you make a more informed decision. Just a quick word of caution, just because you have a particular model shirt in size, say, large, that you bought 4 years ago and it fits great, doesn't mean every other shirt in that model in size large will fit the same. And I find this to especially be true for the lower end fast fashion brands. Okay, on to the fourth factor, age of the item. And by this I mean, how old is the thing you're looking to buy, or when was it originally released? Now this matters for really 3 reasons: value, size/fit, and condition. All right, first, value. Now, the age of an item can both increase and decrease its worth based on a lot of different factors that we really don't have time to get into in this video. So for now, just be aware that it does. Next, size, and this is a big one. So sizes are not consistent over time. A classic men's leather jacket in size large made in 2003 will likely not fit the same as a classic men's leather jacket in size large made in 2023. Now there are different reasons for this, but for now just know that sizes and fit change over time, and this is pretty consistent across brands. On to condition. Now Father Time has his way with everything, including clothes, and certain materials will break down and degrade faster than others, especially if stored improperly, i.e. leather, rayon, acrylic. Now that's not to say pieces made with these materials can't last decades, but they are more vulnerable. For example, that cool vintage leather jacket you're considering might look awesome in the photos, but what does the leather actually feel like? It might have been stored in a basement next to a furnace for 2 decades, resulting in undesirable, vulnerable, cracked leather. Best to know this ahead of time. So to wrap things up, approximating an item's age is super helpful when it comes to estimating value, size/fit, and condition. All right, on to the 5th factor, commerce platform. And by this I mean, what website or app are you actually going to buy the thing on, i.e. eBay, Depop, Poshmark. This matters because though they all essentially do the same thing, certain platforms cater to a certain type of buyer, thus attracting a certain type of seller. For example, Depop, with its large pictures and simple design, is great for finding that cool vintage tee, and it will have sellers who specialize in selling just that. But say you're looking to buy a nice wool jacket or blazer, where size and details really matter. Other platforms like eBay, with its higher picture limits, more specific search options, and sellers who specialize in formal clothing will be a better bet. So by learning what platforms cater to who, you'll better position yourself to find sellers who specialize in what you're looking for and generally know more about what they're selling, which is super helpful, especially if you're new at this game. Also, certain features of each platform can actually influence my decision to buy, like how they handle returns. But more on this in later videos. All right, the 6th and last factor, listing/seller analysis. And by this I mean, what information can you glean from the listing and the seller's profile that might not be immediately evident? Now this matters because at the end of the day, this is a business transaction where one person wants to make money and the other wants a good deal. Now there is a lot to consider here, and again, I plan to make a video doing a deep dive on this topic. So for now, I'll just pose some questions that you might want to ask yourself to help get you thinking. Does the seller appear to be a professional reseller or someone just casually offloading some items they don't need? How much effort was put into the photos, and does it look like they might be purposely hiding or obscuring one part of it? What's the tone of the description? Friendly, hostile, indifferent, welcoming? Are their shipping costs reasonable? If they have bad reviews, is there a common thread? And what I think to be the most important question, Does it look too good to be true? Now, I'm sure a lot of you out there are saying, duh, this is all common sense. But everything I presented to you, I learned the hard way and paid for, literally. It really is worth front-loading these questions and considerations to help hedge against making a hasty emotional purchase, which we are all susceptible to. And again, there are a lot of details within each of these factors that I didn't cover. And again, I plan to make videos where I'll do more specific deep dives into each. But I hope this video has at least armed you with a bit of information to begin or continue into the world of pre-owned online clothing shopping, because trust me, it's worth it.